Unfortunately, still a lot of INFJs struggle with money because there's always this decision to make. Am I going to stay in alignment with who I want to be, or am I going to sell out and do something that is out of integrity and then I can make more money? And so most INFJs go for the first option, but this inevitably means that a lot of INFJs worry about money, worry about making ends meet. And you know from experience, if you are in this position, then there is no room for creativity left because all your thoughts go into worrying how to pay the bills. And I can tell you not only from personal experience, so I've had financial success not only through my INFJ business, but before this, I was in a high-end consulting firm for banking. So I've also been financially successful in the corporate world. So I have a lot of experience in both of those worlds. And additionally, I've worked with a lot of financially successful INFJs throughout the years in my one-on-one coaching. And so I've seen that it's possible, as I said, not just for me, but also for other INFJs to make money in a sustainable way that is in integrity, that actually fuels who you are instead of draining it. You don't have to make any choices on being in or out of integrity. It's like no question at all. Of course, you're going to choose integrity and choose you, and you're going to get paid for being who you are. So today I want to talk to you about 5 INFJ money habits that feel right but keep you stuck, because the reason for this is just because society has taught us to look in a certain direction when in reality, we as INFJs, we have to operate by different rules. And before we get started, I can happily announce that the course on financial abundance for INFJ is finished. You can get it now. You voted for it, so I delivered, and this is really the bigger version of the snippets that you're going to get in this and in the next video. So just make sure if you feel like, okay, this is already speaking to me and I'm ready to go all in, then get the course on financial abundance for INFJs. It's full of experience, proven methods that have worked for me and other INFJs, and they will work for you too. Everything you need to know you can find through the links in the description. So the first INFJ money habit that most of us are carrying with us is giving too much without having a container to receive. So as INFJs, so many of us go through life thinking, I'm just going to give. Like that's my natural mode of operating, and people are going to get at some point like how much I'm doing for them. And I promise you, if you're doing this in your personal relationships, you're also doing this when it comes to money. You're also doing this at your workspace. So every single time you're in a position where you feel like I'm giving so much, but most of the people around me are not consciously aware of it, then you haven't built a container for people to be able to reward you for who you are. So this is incredibly important. So sometimes we just are there with all of our energy, with all that we are. And if we haven't really defined, this is who I am, this is what I can offer you, and this is what makes me uniquely great for this, it's not going to give you the rewards you're seeking. So if you have this habit in your life, and sometimes it's easier to see it in your personal life, that you feel like, okay, I'm giving so much, and I kind of like hope somebody's going to see finally how much I'm doing. I promise you the thing that is missing is a container. And how do you build a container? Well, we have to tap into our extroverted functions. We have to really express what we are about, what we represent, what we're here for, and then we can continue our journey. So an example for this could be you're at your corporate job and you're doing everything possible. You're trying to help your coworkers, you're trying to do everything that everybody else is doing. Then on top of that, you're creating a harmonious atmosphere. And so the list goes on. And nobody really knows how much you're doing or what you are about. What I've learned, for example, at my last job, which was all about like crunching numbers and being really detail oriented. And I'm okay at these things, but I'm definitely not one of the best. The thing I was able to provide was a really great communication and connection with clients. And, some people might think, oh, but that's a soft skill and like everybody else is doing the hard labor. Well, maybe, but if they didn't have me, they wouldn't have closed the deal. And if you don't close the deal, you don't get the money. And so the way I presented myself at this company was directly coming from a place of, I'm not going to stand out by working a lot. I'm not going to do all the documentation unless I'm really required to. Like, this is not the thing I'm going to raise my hands for first. And what I'm really good at is not only, creating those connections, but I'm also really good at picking myself up from a really hard situation. But what I'm also really good at is putting myself into a black box where things are not clear and I create structure around it. These are my skills. This is what I will bring to you. And this is what I can offer that will make your business more successful. And you can apply this to everything that you're doing. If you have your own business, if you're working for somebody, even if you work at a clothing store, you have to make it known that you're not doing what everybody else is doing. What is your unique benefit that you're bringing that is not readily available in others? Because just because it might look like a soft skill, if it is something that is creating financial abundance for others, then it's something that should be financially rewarded, and you have to be the one who defines it. So often as INFJs, we kind of like lay back and say like, I'm all of this, and then you get to decide what you're going to pick up from that. You're going to decide what the value of this is. This is, for example, you presenting yourself as somebody who's very compassionate and somebody who's really good with people. Yeah, what's the benefit here? If you present yourself as somebody who's going to create more money for your employer, for example, because let's say you work at a clothing store, you're the one who's going to make the customers feel so great about themselves that they're going to want to, buy more dresses and like buy stuff because it makes them feel good, because they're in an environment where they feel their best, then this is how you should present yourself. So you define that. That's actually us tapping into our extroverted functions. That's us bringing form to who we are and what we bring, instead of kind of like laying back and saying, this is all that I am, and you decide what kind of value you're going to extract from me. Number 2, thinking that it has to be hard to be valuable. There are a couple of things that come really easily to us, and just because they come easily to us doesn't mean they come easily to other people. And so often we feel like if I would actually benefit from that, then I'm being lazy, or I'm using other people, or I'm taking advantage of them, when this is not the case. Just because something comes easily to you, that does not mean that it doesn't bring value. So as I said, if you're really good at creating connections with people, if you're really good at understanding their pain points, then this is something that just because it comes naturally to you doesn't mean that it couldn't be rewarded. It's on us to say this is valuable, this is something that people are looking for, this is a necessity, not only for others to, make money, but to also feel like they want to come back because it gives them a feeling of being at a place where things matter. Everybody wants to feel like, I'm in a place where what I'm doing and, what I'm contributing matters. And if you're somebody who can provide that, then it's on you to actually present yourself as valuable. This is not something where you have to think about, oh, but I'm not such a workaholic like others, or I'm not, bringing so much value in a tangible way. Well, what is a tangible way? Again, if you can give something to the mix that is missing, that's going to create more output, then you have to define it as something valuable. We can't wait for other people to do that for us. And we have to start with us seeing the value in what we bring, independent of how hard it seems. As I said, just because something comes naturally to you doesn't mean that you can't get rewarded for it. Number 3, avoiding money talk because it feels awkward. Money has so much energy attached to it, so much negative energy attached to it. There's so much lack. It's always uncomfortable. And what we have to learn is that talking about money has to be as easily as saying, pass the salt, please. That does not mean that you have to talk to strangers about like how much you earn, or that you have to make it obvious how much you earn in front of other people. Nothing like that. But if you feel like you speaking about it at all makes you uncomfortable, that you feel like you have to, defend it, then that's a great sign that you still have a lot of underlying beliefs that you're not deserving of money. And money is just energy, nothing else. It's not the only energy, but it's energy. And what we're actually saying is money is something that we have decided on that equals value. That's what it is. You know how it was back in the day. I'm going to give you some berries. You're going to give me some wool, whatever it may be. Like that's an exchange of goods, and money is just the thing in between. So we don't have to do that. So in itself, money is not inherently good. Money is not inherently bad. And Jen Sincero had like this really amazing quote that I loved. And she said, if I say I love pizza, then that's a full sentence. I don't have to say I love pizza, but it's not everything. It's also important to stop and smell the roses. That's what really matters, and connection. But those are the disclaimers we feel like we have to add to everything that we do if we say, I love money. Just like look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love money. Like this is your best friend. Money is your best friend. you have a positive relationship with money. And this is something we can practice. And you can practice this with small actions every day. So I always say, set financial goals. Are you achieving them? Tracking, like, how is your budget? Or even better, how are my savings goals? Or how am I growing in my prosperity in such a way that I feel safe? You know, so many INFJs, they're not really looking for a life where they have millions of dollars and, have to work like all day long. Most of us are really looking for freedom and like the opportunity to be rewarded for who we are. And so we have to really start looking at money as something positive, because we're not going to connect it to doing things that are out of alignment, but we're going to start seeing it as just a form of energy exchange and value exchange for what we naturally bring to the table. Number 4, staying behind the scenes. So when I say staying behind the scenes, it does not mean that you have to tell everybody what you're about. Like, even I, who's like all visible here and all of that, like all together in my life, I'm still rather behind the scenes. Most people are not aware of what I'm doing. Most people don't care. I don't care to share it. So there is this natural tendency to kind of like let things happen. And I, like don't really want to take credit for it. But it's one thing if this is what happens, if we go all out and say like, this is all that I have and I'm creating this amazing epic life, and just the result of it is rather like invisible, to some people, that's one thing. It's another thing if you're actively not showing up in a way of, look what I bring to the table. Because so many INFJs, and I've experienced this myself, so I know what I'm talking about. I've really fought myself out of this, and the thousands of INFJs who I've worked with so far have done the same thing. If you feel like you're giving so much, and you're giving so much at work, you're giving so much in your life, you're carrying other people's pains, and it's all invisible labor and nobody's aware of it, then we're really working against ourselves. Like, this is something we have to change, and money will be a reflection of that. So visibility doesn't mean being fake. It doesn't mean that you have to put yourself in the forefront and say, look at me, like, and this is my outfit, and like, I'm so cool and all of that. No, but it means like, if you bring something, make it known. Like, this is not something that you feel like you have to do, on autopilot. And looking at an example that's maybe a little bit more tangible, if you have 2 friends, for example, and you're always the buffer between them, so they're not fighting, then this is invisible labor. If you feel responsible for that if if you have 2 friends who are like this, or there's some tension and you have to be the one who says something to kind of like ease it, then this is something that is not in our best interest. If we're deliberately doing this consciously and we know this is a benefit, it's one thing. But most of us are doing this because we feel like if we wouldn't be doing this, we would be bad people. And the same thing applies to everything concerning money. So we have to like really make it known. Look, if I'm not there, this is the tension you're feeling. If I'm there, it's going to get better. And people have to experience the contrast. Otherwise, they cannot know what you're doing. It's like being around kids and the mom is always cooking and there's always food available. People are going to take it for granted. But then mom like takes a week vacation and then the entire family recognize, okay, everything like falls apart if mom's not there. But nobody is aware. And this is just normal human behavior. If we don't see the contrast in something, we're not aware of its value. That's what I mean, you have to make it known. So even at your job, if you're the one who's constantly making sure that the harmony of the entire room is great, so everybody's actually being more productive, then this is something that has to be valued. And you have to actually make it your point to say, I don't need to be doing this. What I'm being paid for right now is, tipping numbers into the computer. I'm not being paid for making sure everything is harmonious. I'm going to do that if I want to, but I need to be rewarded for that. Because otherwise I'm just going to do what is required of me, and then I'm going to use my energy to actually create something that's going to, bring me money in another way. So a side hustle that now you have energy for because you're emotionally checked out from your work. Or I'm going to apply for another job, directly ask for more money, and make it known that one of the qualities I bring is that, people around me feel very relaxed. When they're relaxed and at peace, they actually work better. So that is just something that I naturally do. And we have to stop shying away from naming these things. If you're not saying what I bring to the table has value, I promise you nobody else will. So this example of you being the one who makes sure that, everything is smooth so everybody can work in harmony and actually the output is better, I promise you nobody will see it unless you name it. That's what I mean with making it visible. And maybe at first you'll think, oh, but that's so cringe and how can I do that? Well, what do you got to lose? If you have a job, why not apply for another job and just try it out? What's the worst that could happen? That people laugh in your face? They've done this to me. Like, I've seen this. I've gone to job interviews before. People have laughed in my face, said, what are you doing here? You're not good enough, and so on and so forth. And guess what? I got a job at a company that paid twice as much and was like 2 tiers up, in comparison to the other company, because they knew the value that I bring and how much more money they're going to make out of it. But it's on you to actually put yourself in places where this is being appreciated. And it all starts with you setting your standard of this is what I bring to the table and I deserve to be rewarded accordingly. And that's when we get to number 5, undercharging or not asking at all. So many INFJs go to job interviews and they're like, let's see what the standard of the market is, or like, what would you offer me? And kind of like take it. Or, as we said, like we know we bring so much more than the bare minimum that we're being paid for, and we're not asking for more. So if you know that you're at a job and if you would do like 50% less of what you're currently doing, as I said, the bare minimum, and you would still be doing better than what your colleagues are doing and you would still get the same pay, then that's a sign that you need to change something. I mean, you don't need to, but you definitely can if you want to improve your financial game. So this most likely, and I really encourage you to look outside of companies where you haven't been so far, because it's so much easier to kind of like make a new impression than to change old impressions. So when you position yourself at, a new company, or if you start your own business or whatever it may be, like make sure that you stop undercharging and you have to set your standard first. So this isn't about greed. This is about saying, okay, I want to do something that is sustainable. I actually want to honor what I bring to the table. And I also want to honor what other people who are like me bring to the table. Because when you start defining yourself as valuable and what you bring to the table, you are automatically adding to a movement that values who we are and what we bring. There's so many great benefits from having an INFJ on your team. And if we're not the ones who say, yes, I am valuable because I'm different, because I'm unique, because I'm bringing something that nobody else is bringing to the mix, and you're going to succeed because I'm at your team, and you start positioning yourself like this, everything changes. So most importantly, remember, you don't have to change who you are. You don't have to pretend to be somebody that you're not. You don't have to turn into a greedy, uncharismatic person. You can be all that you are with all the generosity you bring to the table, with everything that you want to do for other people, with your altruism, with your integrity, and still put value on it. And actually, because of that, put value on it. Because if we want to contribute to a world where, all of those qualities are being valued, then it starts with us. If we want to see change in society, we're the ones who have to change. And that's what I mean with having to change, not who you actually are, but showing up as much as you possibly can as yourself and saying, this is the value I can bring to your team. This is the value that I bring, if I'm a business person and like this is my own thing, and you set the standard. And to say, I know what kind of benefit I bring to you, and I know having me on your team or you investing in what I have to offer is going to benefit your life. And it has to start with us. We really have to start putting value on it so others can see the value in it as well. Remember, if you want to learn the concepts and how to apply them in your life, then get the new course, Financial Abundance for INFJs. This is a series of videos that I've created based on my experience for over 10 years, having worked with thousands of INFJs over the years, financially successful INFJs. I myself have created financial success in different sectors. So you can get all the benefits of all the lessons learned through that course. To get the course now, click the link in the description or through the prompt in the video. And if you want to watch another video now that is in line with today's topic, then check out the video you see on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next one.